sheets. I think we've got strong balance sheets on which we can build
and
these
you're
businesses.
not scared of leveraging those balance sheets?
No, I think if you're leveraging the balance sheet for the right reasons, it's a good thing to do because, you know, equity in a sense is the most expensive way to grow. So if you have a plan in mind, if you have some sort of a contingency built in, and you believe that you're taking on debt to do the right things, I think it's well worth it. You've got to be prepared for a couple to 3 years of pain.
More questions now, and Vishal Singh, if you can stand up, please.
So you have been awarded with many leadership awards. What do you think are the leadership challenges faced by young leaders in this era of globalization?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of them. You know, one which comes to mind is the fact that, like I was saying earlier, when you live in such an interconnected world and where, you know, the cause and effect can be very distant, very far apart, I think that in an increasingly smaller world, more complex, connected world, decision making becomes that much more challenging. And I think young people, when they go out into the world as it is today, would require that much more of finesse and judgment in their decision making to get it right. But I think it also makes it much more challenging and exciting.
Given the fact that you are you know, dealing with different geographies, most of your acquisitions are happening globally, how are you factoring in geopolitical risks and geopolitical fractures or cracks?
The honest answer, Shirin, is that you can't really plan for them. What you would want to do is that you would look at the political risk of being in an economy when you're growing a business there, so you don't want to be overweight on a particular economy. I think another thing that we're doing pretty consciously now is to spread our bets geographically also. So in a sense, you're sort of not putting all your eggs into a few baskets.
You know, India has changed since 1991, and especially over the last decade or so, India has changed dramatically. What, to your mind, currently is the most unique thing about doing business in India?
You know, I think the biggest challenge is the fact that we don't seem to put a premium on speed in a very rapidly moving world and very dynamic world. I don't think that in India we understand the importance of being able to get things done quickly. I'm talking about at a larger, sort of more 30, 40, 50,000 feet level, not about individuals, not about businessmen, but about the whole system and how it works. And I think that is something that makes me feel very bad and very sad, because waste of time is waste of opportunity. And it doesn't require a whole lot of intellectual sort of understanding or investment. It requires, I think, much more of an attitudinal shift and an appreciation of the fact that in a very rapidly changing world which has the likes of, let's say, China, that sort of moves like one large, you know, sort of a giant would move, you have to be able to follow through and complete things as soon as is practical and optimal.
Since you are talking about speed as being one of the big challenges that entrepreneurs are faced with, do you feel that the environment for business in India has gotten more challenging in the last few years?
I think so. I think that all of these issues seem to be sort of much more exacerbated of late in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Don't ask me why, because I really don't know why. But I think that, you know, these are governance issues.
Okay. There's lots of questions that have come in on individual businesses. So let me go to someone who sent in a question on the retail business. If you can stand up.
Where do you see the future of more with giants like Walmart coming in heavily in association with Bharti or maybe with Future Group? The future
so
of
I think one sort of headline that I would like to sort of emphasize is that you can't be scared of foreign competition. Because, you know, you're going to have foreigners come into almost every business space in the country. So if you're going to be scared, then you might as well not do business and pack up and, you know, retire. So in terms of more, I think you will have foreign competition coming in much more 5 years down the line than now. And I think it's a lot about knowing India. It's a very difficult country to sort of understand because it's, like they say, an amalgamation of many countries into one. But the fact is that we've been in the country for a very, very long time. We understand the country. We have a geographical presence on account of our manufacturing units across the country, also in very sort of backward beyond areas. So knowledge of the country is really important. It's not necessary that if you are a very successful global player, you can come in to India and be as successful. There's a huge element of localization.
But the retail business, and just to take his question forward, is this a business you feel that perhaps hasn't lived up to the expectations you had? Have you been disappointed with your performance in the retail business?
No, I think that we aren't disappointed, but I think it's a much more difficult business than it seems from the outside.
Have you recalibrated your plans for it?
We have. I think the fact is that we have, from wanting to be in multiple formats, for example, we have now decided that we want to be in two formats. We want to be in the supermart format and the hypermart format. And we think there's enough in there in terms of the investment required, in terms of the talent required, in terms of the scale that you can build out of the retail business for us to want to do other formats.
Why haven't you thought about bringing in a foreign partner as a strategic investor on board, as has been the case with most other retail players?
I think given the large localization element that I spoke about in the retail business, the only thing a foreign partner can really bring to the table is finance. So I don't think there's anything else really.
So you're not open to bringing somebody on board at this point in time?
Not at this point in time, but if we find ourselves in a situation where finance becomes a very important issue, it's a little difficult to predict with the retail industry. But one isn't averse to that. But the only reason why one would want a foreign partner is for finance.
Is only for the money, is
Yeah,
it?
I don't think that there's too much of knowledge transfer that can necessarily happen from overseas into a market like India.
Is this a priority business for you at this point?
Oh, absolutely. It is a priority business, and but we're pretty low-key about it.
Since we are talking about new businesses and opportunities that you're looking at, Amit, Rajni, if you can stand up and ask your question, please.
Sir, the question is, the Birla Group has recently expressed its interest to obtain a banking license. And what I was wondering was, what if the RBI decides to come up with a basic banking license, not a full-fledged banking license? Would you still be interested, and if no, why?
As far as I know, that's not correct. I think you either get the banking license and you're allowed to become a full-fledged bank, or you don't get a license.
So
we're in queue, and I think that we are sort of the right candidate because of all the good reasons. But I think that's where it is. I don't think there's an issue of full-fledged or basic banking.
Hopefully, and we understand it should have happened by the 31st of March. That was the deadline. It hasn't happened so far. But if indeed, the RBI does go ahead and give corporate houses the ability to get a banking license, this is going to be one of those areas that you would like to fast-track your expansion and growth?
I think we are in the financial services space. We are in insurance. We are in the mutual fund business. We are now into private equity distribution. So a bank fits in very nicely there. It's a very natural extension of the larger portfolio of financial service businesses. The need for more banks in India is very apparent if you want to grow at 9% per annum. And in terms of finance and numbers, I think that's something that we understand very well. Backed by all of that is the fact that we are a brand that is very highly trusted in this country.
So what is the bank going to be called if indeed you do get the banking license? Do you have a name for it?
It would be something like the Aditya Birla Bank, because Aditya Birla is, that's as creative as I can get at this point in time.
What is the dream that you have for yourself now?
As of now, all my individual dreams sort of coalesce with the dreams of my businesses. I want to build institutions that are globally respected, that are top of their fields in terms of the way they conduct business, the business they conduct, also the kind of money they make. So I think cash is very important. I like businesses to have a lot of cash flowing. So the first thing I would ask for in a review would be, let's see the cash flow. Because that's very important for me to just not get too overly focused on EBITDA and turnover and all the good things that bankers talk about and we also talk about. At the end of the day, you've got to see what's coming in into the bank.
Okay, so I'm going to end by getting you to tell these young people how they can be cool entrepreneurs in a single line.
Well, like I said earlier, I think that you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. I think it's important to be disciplined about what you're doing. And I think a lot of patience. You know, when you're 20, 21, you have a lot of expectations from yourself in terms of timelines. You know, I want to have achieved this by the time I'm 25, 30, 35.
Yeah.
That it doesn't always play out like that. So you've got to just sort of learn to be patient and stay at it.
Okay.
That's what's worked for me.
Okay. So discipline, follow through, and patience. That's the Kumar Mangalam Birla. And passion. That's the Kumar Mangalam Birla way. All starts with passion of getting to the top. Many, many thanks for joining us here. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
The event concluded with a vote of thanks from Madhvi Puri Buch, CEO of ICICI Securities and founder and advisory committee member of the Tufels Foundation, to Mr. Birla, who extended a donation of a significant amount to an NGO of his choice. Mr. Birla was also felicitated with tokens of appreciation from Padma Sinha of ICICI Foundation, Professor Uday Salunke, Director of Wellinkar Management, Pradeep Pandey from the National HRD Network, and Rashmi Hosangari from Tufels Foundation.